The first day of the Democratic National Convention was full of remarks from some of the party's biggest names.
National correspondent Christine Frizzell is in the United Center in Chicago with who we've heard from and what to expect for the rest of the week.
Vice President Kamala Harris surprising the crowd, also thanking President Joe Biden for all he's done and will continue to do in service to the country.
It is so good to be with everyone this evening in this hall.
The Democratic Party's future taking the stage ahead of the current president, who came to pass the torch.
Are you ready to vote for freedom? Are you ready to vote for democracy and for America? Let me ask you, are you ready to elect Kamala Harris and Tim Walz?
The man the Democratic National Convention was supposed to center around, instead giving a gracious speech the first night, with a focus on accomplishments he and his vice president made together.
We've had one of the most extraordinary 4 years of progress ever, period. When I say we, I mean Kamala and me.
Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez also spoke Monday about the historic nature of Harris's candidacy. Meanwhile, outside the convention center, multiple pro-Palestinian demonstrators arrested after breaching a security fence. Thousands of protesters are in Chicago this week, calling for major changes in the Biden administration's policy on Israel's war in Gaza.
What are you hoping comes out of this?
We're hoping to build a mass movement because we know that the source of change will not be from within the party.
Former President Donald Trump, meanwhile, kicked off a battleground state tour in Pennsylvania. His stops for later in the week include Wisconsin, Nevada, Arizona, North Carolina, and Georgia. In Chicago, I'm Christine Frizzell.
North Carolina delegates at this week's convention were among the first to fully endorse Kamala Harris as the new candidate when President Biden dropped out.
News 13 spoke with a delegate from Weaverville, who's the youngest delegate from Western North Carolina in Chicago this week. She says the focus in this election is to inspire young voters to make their voices heard.
Sometimes it can feel like pulling teeth for getting some of my friends to vote, but the tables have turned, and this time they're texting me about how can they vote early, how can they volunteer. They really want to be involved with the campaign this year.
Robinson says Harris's opportunity economy will benefit people in Western North Carolina, where home prices are leaving some would-be home buyers on the sidelines.
Their economic policy is talking about helping first-time home buyers. And as somebody who lives in Buncombe County with, a median home range of $500,000, it can seem next to impossible for when can I buy a house? When could I ever afford that? And having a presidential candidate who's talking about helping people be able to afford first-time homes is something that I think is really, really important.
Well, Robinson agrees with many analysts who say winning North Carolina in this election is, quote, as crucial as it's ever been.
And keep it right here for coverage of the Democratic National Convention. ABC will carry it during primetime each night, starting at 10 o'clock. Our Sinclair national correspondent Christine Frizzell will provide coverage of the big moments all week long. We are also streaming the DNC on our website, our News 13 app, and on our YouTube page.
And as you heard Christine Frizzell mention moments ago, former President Donald Trump and his running mate, Senator J.D. Vance, are returning to North Carolina this week. They'll be in Asheville on Wednesday to talk about national security issues at the North Carolina Aviation Museum and Hall of Fame.
The announcement comes just days after Trump's visit to Asheville last week.